I will now like to introduce our 3 Ignite talk speakers. We had to find people that are young. Usually when people are asked to come forward, they are not so young. They do not relate well. They do not relate well with what's happening at the moment. They read speeches written by other people, we shall not mention. They have no connection to what they're talking about. So when we looked for these 4 people, it was very difficult. But the people that I'm going to introduce to you are people that we call our warriors and champions of the topics that they're going to talk about. First is Tonderai Shoko. If you're in Bulawayo and you don't know Tonderai Shoko, like Angwas. So, so this is Tonderai Shoko. He is going to present on creative approaches to environment management. And like you can see his t-shirt, he's been doing a campaign to keep Bulawayo clean. His hashtag is Keep Bulawayo Clean. So today, his campaign is on day 1077. I knew that's good. 1077, I've been practicing. So that is how long he's kept it. And he keeps pushing, so I would say, can we please support him? And then we have 2 presenters that will speak on climate change in an urban context. Speaker number 1. Sibonisiwe Ngubeni, if you could stand up. Sibonisiwe Ngubeni is a final year student at NAST, and she's studying towards a degree in environmental science and health. She is currently volunteering with Advocates for Earth, a youth-led initiative which seeks to raise awareness on issues of climate change around Zimbabwe. Sibo, because that's what she likes to be called, I think, because that's how she introduced herself to me. Sibo is a Zimbabwe Youth Leadership Training Program 2017, Yali 2019, and Global Cultural Exchange Program 2019? Right? And she is passionate about climate change, mitigation, and empowerment of women. Girl power. That's her. And then also, on that topic is Joshua Mupedzi. When I asked him to tell me about himself, he said, I'm 24. I don't know if I was supposed to know and feel kind of old, I don't know. But he's 24, he's a geography and history teacher. He's co-founder of Phumula Youth Leadership Forum, and he's currently a community volunteer and secretary at Phumula Youth Leadership. Right? And finally, I had fun writing this one. Finally, to present on cultural tourism as a viable product is Raisedon Baya, an award-winning playwright and director, an author, a columnist, an arts administrator, and a cultural activist. He is also the director of Intwasa Arts Festival, which, if you take your diaries out, is on this year, the 20th to the 27th of September 2020. So please save those dates. Please save those dates. And I am proud to also say he's my friend and my support. So Raisedon Baya. For reasons best known to us, he will not be sitting behind me because the view is very great and he doesn't want to enjoy that view too much. Our presenters, it took you a while. Some of you didn't get that, but it's okay. It's okay. I told you I'm the funniest person, like it's okay. Our presenters will come and present on stage, one after the other. They know their order. And after that, we will then hear from a minister, and then we will have a question and answer segment where you can ask if you have any questions or comments. Likhululekile ukukhuluma to the presenters and to the audience in whatever language you feel comfortable in. Kana mchigona kutaura, unotaura. Nxa ukwanisa ukukhuluma, uyakhuluma. Nxa ulebeleka, namhla noma khala ngamanengi omanesi ngiyalibona iteam ngale. I feel like namhla sibiza umuntu webulilima, and all of a sudden there's this Kalanga support that I'm not understanding. Ngoba sizake sibabone. So to all the Kalangas in here, welcome. Mrs. Matonsi. So I will now hand over. So you know your time, you know my rules. The mic will switch off. They will come forward. Please clap for our presenters.
Good evening, Honorable Minister, Master of Ceremony, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tonderai Shoko from Bulawayo. We are running an initiative called Keep Bulawayo Clean. We started this initiative in 2017 on the 13th of February. It had nothing to do with Valentine's Day. This goes back to the 80s, Honorable Minister, when we used to cycle to school. The city of Baya was beautiful and clean. We used to enjoy cycling home and to school. But now, over the years, we noticed that the city had become dirty. The other day, I was walking in town with my two young brothers, Dr. Tinashe Shoko and Willard Shoko, and someone actually dropped litter in front of us. Recklessly, and with that attitude to say, someone will pick it up for me. Then we got back home and said, but guys, when we used to cycle to school, the city was different. We used to enjoy coming into town on weekends with our parents, and now it's totally different. Let's try share the message that we had as children. So we came up with this concept, Honorable Minister, to say it does not take much to make a difference. We looked at what we had. We had smartphones. We had access to social media. So we had to come up with a strategy that was not going to cost us in any way out of our daily lives, besides our time. So we decided to volunteer for a minimum of 30 minutes to 1 hour a day. Then we started off by posting pictures next to bins to remind people every day that you have to put litter in a bin. This started off very well until we got to day 50. We got other members in the community to join us. Our first partner on day 50 was Do It For The Kids. They are running an organization in town as volunteers. Then we agreed on having a cleanup once with them a week with children at the City Hall. So every Sunday we have a cleanup at the City Hall from 3 p.m. to 3:30 every Sunday. I would like to invite you all tomorrow. We're having a cleanup. Thank you. So we have a cleanup around the City Hall and in the park of the City Hall, and we talk to people. We tell them what we're doing, who we are. We remind people that Bulawayo used to be one of the cleanest cities in the world, not in Africa, but in the world. So we have to take responsibility of what's happening in our environment. Through our efforts, Honorable Minister, we have made friends in other cities. On day 809, we were invited to the city of Johannesburg. We had a cleanup with the municipality of Johannesburg. We got to meet the mayor of Johannesburg, and we shared our experiences in Bulawayo, and we got to share and learn from how a big city is managing to take care of their litter. We have been to other cities in Zimbabwe. We've been to Kariba on day 950, and we've been learning a lot from different people. I would like to show you this, Honorable Minister. This mat has been made from Cremora plastics. These are being made by a lady by the name of Esnat Tagwire. She stays in Cowdray Park. So throughout our cleanups, we got to meet her in Cowdray Park, and it was quite interesting to find out there are amazing people in Bulawayo who are turning litter into money. So she makes these mats, and we've met other people on our journey who are making a big difference too in the city. In short, Honorable Minister, I would like to ask your office to support us and to nurture us, to help us spread our message to the world. I strongly feel that your office can enhance our efforts in the city of Bulawayo. Our initiative has been made simple with a template of not inviting people on financial basis. We say, if you want to be part of Keep Bulawayo Clean, you have to be on the ground. You have to come and physically come pick up litter. We are happier that way. We don't want people to send money and say, go pick up litter. No, you come with your money in your pocket and we pick up litter together, because we strongly feel that it's a culture that we have to inherit. It's a culture that we have to live for future generations. We started doing school visits last year, and we've been to 13 schools so far. In 2020, we're planning to at least go to 60 schools in Bulawayo. And I'm happy to also say that we've started tree planting. On day 1000 at the Centenary Park, we had tree planting and we had a cleanup to celebrate. I would like to thank some of our stakeholders that are here. I see my sister is here. Two of my sisters are here. Thank you for the continued support, Mvuse. And obviously, and yourself, patience. No, it was actually coming. So, Honorable Minister, we have had great support from Bulawayo, but we really hope that you will come in and support our initiative and take us to a higher level so that we can celebrate a cleaner Bulawayo, and we can actually make people understand that recycling can be a business and it can sustain people financially too. Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, can I please hand over these 2 mats to you? Yes. Can you please have them?
One, two. Testing. Honorable Minister, Mistress of Ceremony, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all having a good time. My name is Sibonisiwe Ngubeni, and I'm a student at NAST. I'm studying Environmental Science and Health. Today I'm speaking on behalf of Advocates for Earth, an organization that I'm volunteering with that deals with researchers, bloggers, students in general, or everyone that wants to take action when it comes to climate change. So as a climate change educator, it's very difficult to teach people about climate change because it's still a topic that is not trending. It's still a topic that is not the chat of the decade, and it's still a topic that is not a conversation for every young person. So it's not something that is like HIV and AIDS that you can like just talk about it and people can engage. It's still a topic that needs to be broken down in layman's terms so that people can understand what it is. Because when you go in the streets and you ask people about climate change, they'll tell you that we don't care about that. We think that the country is facing more serious problems. But what they don't know is that the problems that they're facing are problems that are all linked to climate change. I'll tell you about, if you talk about drought, it's climate change. If you talk about non-employment, it all comes back to climate change. So even when I was asked to present something, I had to change my topic because when you start writing, it becomes something that is general, like climate change is a change of weather patterns. Climate change effects include melting glaciers, include rising sea levels, but then it's more relatable when you bring it down to the communities that you exist in, when you bring it down to the spaces that you exist in, when you bring it down to what you are currently facing as a young student. So as someone who's very passionate about climate change, I have taken classes. I took classes in the United States where I was studying about sustainability and how we can change the planet, how we can invest in sustainable projects. So when I came back, I joined Advocates for Earth. So what we do yearly is we hold symposiums about climate change where we invite people with papers on climate change action and we invite people with projects that have to do with climate action. And we write recommendations, we add those papers in our journals. So that's part of the work that I do as a young student. So speaking of climate change in the urban context, particularly in Bulawayo, I have two things that I need to highlight on how climate change is affecting us. The first thing is water supply issues, and the second thing is energy. So the first thing with water supply issues is, even pre-independence, we knew that we had the annual water that we were getting was not able to sustain the country for the whole year. That's why you have things like water rationing, right? But those things like water rationing are things that are problematic because if you don't have water for 2 days, if you don't have water for 3 days, it leads to other things like water sanitation. So those are not sustainable mechanisms. We think that we need to invest more in water harvesting techniques so that the city can have water that can sustain us for the whole year, right? And then the other thing that I'm very passionate about, I'm currently writing a dissertation actually on renewable energy. So statistics say that 43% of the energy that we have in Zimbabwe comes from fossil fuels like coal, sorry. And then the other 57% comes from renewable resource, and the renewable resource that is there is hydro that we're currently using. But hydro cannot sustain us because hydro is very vulnerable to climate change. So when the water dries up, when the water that we have doesn't have so much pressure, when the water levels go down, we are not able to get energy from that. So there is need, Mr. Honorable, to invest. There is need to invest in alternative renewable energy sources like wind, like solar, like biogas and biomass. So we need to change. From fossil fuels and start investing in other sources of alternative energy, right? So also what I really want to talk about is how young people can take stand when it comes to climate change, how young people should be the center of the conversation, how young people should own the narrative when it comes to climate change. Because we are young people and climate change is bound to affect us in the future. It's already affecting us now. That's why we see that we have floods, we have natural hazards. We recently had a cyclone that killed so many people. And left people homeless. we are facing extreme temperatures and we are not reacting accordingly. So climate change requires people that are going to advocate, people that are going to be activists, people that are going to stand and say that climate change is affecting every aspect of our lives. We need to take a stand now. So as young people, there are things that we can do. We can engage local authorities, we can engage our governments, those who have the platforms to talk to people in high places and tell them that we need to start prioritizing climate change. We need to start investing in climate action. So young people can say that, but she spoke about advocates for Earth who deal with researchers and all that. But like, social media you can also use social media to actually write anything about climate change adaptation, anything about climate change mitigation. You can share the work that you do on social media. Young people are tweeting, young people are on Facebook, young people are YouTube bloggers, so you can use those platforms to voice out on climate change. A tweet is less than 10 sentences. So if you're not that person that wants to sit down and write a whole research paper on climate change, you can use Facebook to change the spaces that you exist in. And then also these days, there's lots of opportunities. There's local opportunities, there's international opportunities. Young people need to apply for grants, especially when it comes to climate action projects. Young people can apply for grants and actually initiate change in their spaces. And also for those who are studying climate change or for those who are well vested in that particular topic, you can actually try and raise awareness in your communities, educate people so that that's the first thing on their mouth. And then the 3 points that I would like to leave with you and also with the minister are points that, well, I've hinted in my presentation. So the first thing is that governments need to remodel its priorities in terms of funding. We need more funding that is going to go to climate action programs. And then I also spoke about young people applying for grants and young people initiating change the way they best know how in their spaces. And I also spoke about renewable energy, how there is need to start investing in things like solar, in renewable alternatives like solar, biogas, and biomass. And lastly, please, young people, I'm urging you to take action, and to make climate change the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, my Form 4 classmate. Safunda sonke Mpopoma, hi. So it's a Mpopoma thing. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. All protocols observed. My name is Joshua Mupedzi from Phumula South, Donkini, Tsimbini, recently. So growing up in Phumula for 19 years, I know what deforestation looks like. And as a geography teacher, deforestation is the leading cause in terms of climate change in urban areas. And these days with load shedding, people are cutting trees in Phumula like no man's business. People are cutting trees for commercial use. People are cutting trees for household use. So my presentation will be focused on what young people are doing in Phumula in terms of climate mitigation and in terms of implementing SDG number 13. So this morning I was watching the news and they were talking about how temperatures are rising at the Antarctica. And they were saying that the highest temperature so far is 18 degrees Celsius. That should be the coldest place in the world, but Katesi is at 18 degrees Celsius. Recently, people who take climate action or people who are advocates of climate action have been dubbed prophets of doom at the World Economic Forum by famous president. But the reality is that when we are talking of climate change and climate issues, we are talking of matters of life and death. She gave us good examples of what happened in Chimanimani in 2019. She gave us good examples of the current drought we are facing as a city. She gave us good examples of the Australian fires that took place in 2019. That is climate change. So when we talk of youth advocacy and youth participation, young people should be the ones driving youth participation in terms of climate change. Young people should be the ones leading the climate agenda. Young people should be the ones found in decision making in terms of climate action, because the impacts and the effects of climate change will affect me, the next generation, and Lama 2000. Special. So last year in November 2019, as young people in Phumula, we had the same platform such as this one, which was done by Phumula Youth Leadership Forum, and we dialogued about climate change. We talked about the impacts of climate change that we were seeing within our community. From that forum, or from that dialogue, we came up with an initiative which was called Imvelo Youth Project. And under the Imvelo Youth Project in 2020, we came up with an initiative that is called Tree Friday Initiative, where we are saying as young people in Phumula, we are going to be planting trees, donating trees, and watering trees every Friday, because we realize we are the ones who are cutting down the trees. Therefore, there's a need for us to replace them. Currently, we have planted around 20 trees, and we have donated around 24 trees, including Izolo Friday. So, Honorable Minister, our nurseries zethu, they are located within our backyards. And we would love to thank the Bulawayo City Council through Elderman S. Kumalo, who is Ward 27 Councillor, was a small space at Venture Youth Camp to do our nursery. And we are thanking them for supporting us so far. So today I brought a few trees with me. Just I'll take two. A few trees with me, and I'll demonstrate how easy it is to take part in terms of planting trees. This is it's a bottle. You just cut it, you put soil, you put your seed, which we normally pick up, and then this tree in 4 months, 5 months time, they'll be ready for planting. This is called umkaya. It's a local tree called umkaya, an indigenous tree. Then this Honorable Minister will be our gift to us as young people. It's a baobab, umkomo. Normal, abantu abaningi abazakubona umkhomo ungaka wabona usukhulile, but tina we have made it simple and possible to make it easy for planting. So Honorable Minister, this is our tree that we are giving it to you as young people in Phumula, and we are saying first Saturday of 2020, which is the National Tree Planting Day. This will be you should, I demand, you should you should plant this tree on behalf of Phumula and on behalf of taking climate action. So this will be our gift. So as I round up my presentation, we have realized that planting trees in safer spaces is more important. Planting trees in communities, in church halls, in schools is more important, because it reduces the level of that tree being deforested. So ladies and gentlemen, remember, when we talk climate change, we are talking of matters of life and death. Thank you.
Good evening. Honorable Minister, the Regional Director, the Regional Managers at TA, invited guests, and all protocol observed. As you are aware, I don't have a tablet or a phone, and I also think it speaks to my age. I'm going to talk about cultural tourism. I was given a topic, but I tweaked it a little bit, because it's always nicer to surprise other people. So my topic here is cultural tourism, possibilities and opportunities. I think I went for possibilities and opportunities because I felt that this is a dialogue and that with the minister here, for us, especially the creative sector, we should be looking for opportunities and within the ministry and also for possibilities in terms of how can we collaborate with the ministry and the departments that are under his ministry. So when I was given the topic, I think three things came to me, and these were: one, selling our foods and traditional beverages; two was selling our arts and culture; three was selling our way of life as Zimbabweans, and in particular as the people of this region. And for me, I think that was, in a summary, what I thought was about cultural tourism. But that is what came into my mind when I was given the topic. What are the real and even imagined business opportunities for creatives in the tourism sector? For days I kept asking myself, what is the creative sector selling? What does it want to sell? And how is it selling, or how does it want to sell whatever goods and services it is or it is producing to local and foreign tourists? To be honest, I'm quite disappointed, especially in how we are currently selling cultural tourism in Bulawayo and in the country as a whole. As I say we, because we are all to blame. Let's take a look at how cultural tourism in Bulawayo is being sold. The destinations and the products are Matopos, the museums, Kami ruins, and I feel these are all one-sided. It's more like we are selling tangible cultural heritage and we are living intangible cultural heritage, unsaid and unspoken to, and we are not selling it. And that for me is a big problem. Cultural tourism should also cover intangible heritage, and we are talking about our music, our literature, the gallery, and the artists that exhibit at the gallery, our festivals. I represent in Tuasa, and there are about three festivals in Bulawayo. And when you look, you go internet where they are selling cultural tourism, you'll never find most of those things. So I think it's important now that we need to be coming together and finding the possibilities and opportunities where the creative sector and the other players in the tourism industry can come together and make it work. I would really love to see us selling indigenous foods. I would really love to see us selling fashion. I would really love us to see, there's been talk about township tourism that ZT has been trying to promote, but it has been here and there. It's important that then we try and have everything covered. Bulawayo is a cosmopolitan city. Many tribes, many communities reside in our city and call it home. Ndebele, Kalangas, Sutus, Shonas, those of Zambian and Malawian origins, Coloreds, Indians, whites, and many others. So when we talk about selling Bulawayo as a tourist destination, what exactly are we talking about? What are we selling? We need this to be clear to everyone who is involved in cultural tourism, to every player in the field. Are we talking about single cultural or artistic products, or we are talking about a lot of diverse cultural products? It needs to be very clear so that we are all selling the same things, or we all have a bigger picture of what we are selling rather than each person thinking that in their own corner, this is what they are selling. So in the end, we have a lot of people that come or pass through this city. They really don't know what we have to offer as a city. They only, if they get, for example, to one place, they are told about that one particular place only, and the other players are kind of become invisible. So we need to find a way to actually be selling a whole package, and we want to be involved in that also as the creative sector. I'll still go back to my 3 points that we need really for me to sell local foods and beverages, like culinary arts, culinary festivals. We don't have that. I know two places. Once I've been to Amagugu, and I think Amagugu Cultural Village, and that time we were all going there for the food and the drinking. And I think a lot of people enjoyed that. I think it's something that really can be a big business and something that we can really sell either as a region or as a city. But we really need to know what exactly are we selling. We also been talking about arts and culture. Half the time when we talk arts and culture, we really are talking traditional dances, nothing else. My tourist staff, we are called, can you find us a traditional dance group? That's all that is arts and culture to a lot of people. I think we need to really break that down, and as artists in the creative sector to say arts and culture is more than just traditional dance. That's why most of the time, when we are going to the airport, it's always traditional dance, and then we end up selling our country as just with one traditional dance. I think it's bigger than that. We need really to be speaking to that minister. We have music, we have literature, we have performance arts, we have fashion, we have a lot of other things that probably we need to promote under cultural tourism. And basically, the last thing for me is we also need to be selling basically our way of life as Bulawans, as Zimbabweans, and we're not doing that. And what is it that we need people out there? Because people are not really coming for buildings anymore. People, when they go to the museums, they are not going for the bigger museum. They are looking for the stories that are inside that building. Even when they come here, most of them, they want the stories that these paintings, and we are not selling that. It's high time that we start telling our stories, telling our way of life. It's more important. I then finish off with a few questions, which I would direct to the minister. And these are to the Honorable Minister and the department under his ministry. Here are a few questions that I direct to you. The first one is, what criteria is used when, for example, ZTA confers ambassadorship roles to artists? We have seen international artists coming to the country and being made ambassadors, cultural ambassadors for this country. And yet we haven't had local artists that have been given that honor, because we believe they can actually sell this country better than someone who is just coming for 2 days and going. So we feel there is a need to look into that. We have some of our local artists who travel every year for months to Europe, to America, and other places. We should give them that role. For example, we have Iyasa, we have Nobuntu, we have Mokumba, and the list is long. Why can't we try them and see what they can do with selling the country? My second question, Honorable Minister, is that every year there are government tours or trips inside and outside where a lot of artifacts, a lot of cultural products are then either sold or displayed, and sometimes it's not clear how people get on that bandwagon. We just hear right now, I think there is a trip that's somewhere in China, and if it's not China, it's Japan, and there's a group of about 20, and I was looking at them, and I didn't see anyone from this part of the country. And we always wonder how that happens. How do then those people get chosen? Is it because of the proximity to the capital, or is it something else? We ask your office to look into that. My third and last point is, Honorable Minister, is that there are a lot of activities and events that we organize as probably non-state institutions, but we rarely find support from the government, from the state, and yet when opportunities come, you find that departments start having this almost similar activities. For example, you have a department that's having a festival, you have a department that instead of actually supporting what's already there, because when the government departments or ministry comes in, they just do it once and they are gone. But the cultural institutions that are there, they do it every year. So whatever resources would be better off to support the institutions that are there, and then probably technical support here and there. It's very important, because at times we feel like we are then competing with your departments and your ministries in terms of putting up events, instead where we should feel supported and nurtured by the ministry. I thank you very much for that.
This is why he writes books and he is award winning. Some call him a godfather of the